I'm Haley Taylor, and you're listening to the Rough Draft Diaries. Do you remember that episode of the Rough Draft Diaries where we went to a local TEDx event? Well, this episode is directly connected to that episode.
This is Rachel McCartney.
This is Jared Christie.
I met Rachel and Jared at that TEDx event. Rachel was giving a presentation that evening about her design company, Deep in Design. Her speech mainly focused on one particular project Deep in Design had been working on and needed help with. Now we'll get to that project in just a minute, but first we should get to know Rachel and Jared and their design company, Deep in Design. Rachel and Jared met in Kalamazoo in 2007, but they've lived in Toledo for the past few years. They have a 9-month-old daughter, and they share Deep in Design with their third business partner and close friend, Daniel Lund, who helped create the company.
And he was really the instigator for bringing together craftspeople and artisans in Toledo to form a collective where we could combine our efforts and facilities and skill sets to create furniture, sculpture, take on larger commissions, and just be more active, I think, as a community.
Deep in Design is only 3 years old, so it's still evolving with each creator's interests. Sometimes they're producing more jewelry than furniture. Sometimes it's the opposite. What hasn't changed is the foundation of the company. Each work is created with a love of art, community, and preservation.
I don't think there's anything that we've made that doesn't have scrap materials, reclaimed materials. That running theme of preservation and building things well and appreciating things that last goes through both of those things. And we're both very involved in community projects, and it's been really exciting to be able to use our space in our business and be able to contribute.
All right, now that we know Rachel and Jared and we're familiar with their love of metal and restoration, I have to introduce one more character. It's the Roulet Company, a Toledo-owned jewelry manufacturer, one of the oldest in the States. Created in 1877. The Roulet Company is close friends with Deep in Design. Because of this, Deep in Design was one of the first to know that the Roulet Company had decided to consolidate and move buildings.
Knowing that the company was going to be moving, the question came up about this large press that they had, and, did I think that, we would be able to utilize as a company, or, they weren't quite sure where its home was going to be.
Yeah, and so we got down there to look at the press and got to look at the dies. So the dies go back about 130 years.
Okay, let's hold on just a minute here. What exactly does this press do, and what are dies? Bear with me, I'll explain. The Roulet Company is moving, and it has this large machine sitting in its basement. It's called a friction screw press, or stamping press. The Roulet Company doesn't know what to do with it because they still need to use it on occasion, but it's huge. That's what it sounds like when it's on. It's 8 feet tall and it's located in the basement of their old building, and they don't have enough room for it in their new building. They were hoping to give the press to Rachel and Jared, who had space for it in the Deep in Design warehouse. The deal was that the Roulet Company could then come and use it when they needed to. You also heard the word dies, D-I-E-S. They're an integral part to this machine. With a die and a stamping press, you can imprint images to different kinds of metals.
Would be anything from watch backs to medallions to medals, parts for rings, could be pendants.
This is how it works. The dies are cylinder blocks of metal. You can easily hold one in your hand. On top of the cylinder is a negative image that has been hand-carved. You place the cylinder into the stamping press. Then you position a sheet of metal on top of the cylinder where that negative image lies. Simply turn on the press, and a hammer is released. It pushes a great amount of pressure onto that sheet of metal. It does this over and over and over again until eventually that negative image on the die has been pressed into a positive image on the sheet of metal. If you want a different image, simply grab a different die. Now again, Roulet has been around since 1877, so think of all the dies that have been used to create plaques for businesses, medals for sports tournaments, or designs on jewelry. When Rachel and Jared went to Roulet's to look at the stamping press, they noticed these boxes and boxes of dies. There were 7,000 dies sitting in the basement of Roulet's.
And there was dies down there that that no one had looked at for 50 years. Companies that had gone out of business, groups, fraternal orders, a lot of Masonic stuff, almost every company and organization in the city. So I remember just the first time I saw them coming down while he was working on getting the machine. He said, "You got to come see these," and just kind of trying to take it all in. And I thought, if somebody could save this collection, keep this collection together, that would really be doing something.
So the stamping press was a done deal. The relay company gladly gave the machine to Rachel and Jared, but the dies were a different story. They went to auction, and Rachel had no idea how much 7,000 dies would cost at an auction. But she knew she wanted to keep these two historical pieces together, the stamping press and the dies. But she didn't know how. So, what do you do? Well, you'll have to wait to find out in the next episode of the Rough Draft Diaries. For now, I'm Haley Taylor, and thanks for listening.